as the winter goes away and the spring starts to move in, we know, just like Dan said, that these pests are waking up. And so people are starting to become more and more aware of the pests around their house. They're getting out in the yard and they're looking for help.
This is the PMP Industry Insider Podcast.
Hello and welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industries, and we take it to the front lines to those that are driving those changes. I'm Donnie, Shelton, owner of Triangle Home Services, which has Triangle Pest as well as Triangle Lawn. And with me, as always, fortunate or unfortunately, Mr. Dan Gordon. Dan, would you like to say, we're recording this in the morning, would you like to introduce our most gracious guests? Also, give a little bit of love towards our sponsors, and then talk about what we're going to be talking about this morning.
Sure. So, hello, everyone. Dan Gordon, PCO Bookkeepers, M&A Specialists. Let's see our sponsors. If you're interested in marketing, Comarch by WorkWave, that would be comarch.com. If you are interested in industry-specific insurance for your general liability, auto, workers' comp, and others, that would be PestSure. Visit them at pestsure.com. And if you're interested in joining a PMP Industry Insider peer group, which is going very, very well, please visit pmpindustryinsider.com/peer groups, or go back and listen to episode 136 for more information. We've got several peer groups and are filling the next one. So that's exciting. So today we have a distinguished guest. That it would be Jim Fredericks, Ph.D., is a board-certified entomologist and senior VP of Public Affairs at NPMA, and is the executive director of PPMA, Professional Pest Management Alliance, and he's tasked with leading PPMA and its consumer marketing programs to drive awareness of the value of professional pest control services and lead strategic marketing growth. Seasoned media spokesperson with a long history of serving as NPMA's chief entomologist, and has appeared as a contributor on NBC's Today Show and hundreds of other national and local broadcast, print, and digital stories on behalf of PPMA and NPMA. So Jim, he's pretty well decorated, received a bachelor's degree in biology from Millersville University, got an MS degree in entomology from University of Delaware, and has a PhD in entomology and wildlife ecology from University of Delaware also. He is involved with research regarding subterranean termites, foraging behavior with respect to in-ground termite bait stations under field conditions. Did I bore you enough? Can we move on?
Hang on.
Welcome, Jim.
So
Dan,
I got to add one more, though. By the way, this is a very impressive bio, but probably the most I would say is he's podcast emeritus, right? This is not his first time.
Yeah, this is not his first rodeo.
No. So
I came back for more. I came back for more.
Yes, and you were willing to do it, which
Dan, I appreciate, first of all, I appreciate your reading skills. That was amazing. You read that whole dang thing. So thank you for doing that, man.
I made it look like it was impromptu. Well,
I was getting goosebumps just hearing about that bio. I'm like, I think they might have me mixed up with somebody else. No, thank you for doing that. And it's I appreciate you all having me back on. Like I said, year ago, I think I was on the podcast, and it was a really great experience. So thanks for inviting me back.
Well, I will echo that.
Progress since that's terrific.
I was going to say, for us, at least, I mean, I know Dan is as well, but we're huge fans of PPMA. I like what you guys are doing for the industry. I have been a huge fan since I've been in the industry. In fact, I've used a lot of stuff that you guys have produced. It's helped my business tremendously. So I'm a big fan. I think what you guys are doing is having a huge impact in the industry. And so I think it's always great to hear what you guys are up to and what you've been doing. And if you're listening to this episode, you've not listened to episode 111, we had Jim on there where he kind of talked about the big picture of things that are happening with PPMA and what they do. But I do want to just briefly, Jim, I just want to give you maybe like 30 seconds or so, just talk big picture for those who may not be familiar with PPMA and or doesn't have the time to go to episode 111. Can you just talk a little bit about what it is that you guys do, how you're a little bit different from NPMA, and then we're going to talk about what you've been up to.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. PPMA. So PPMA is the consumer outreach, consumer awareness arm of NPMA. So PPMA is the organization behind the pestworld.org website, all of the @pestworld social media properties, all the media outreach representing NPMA. We do consumer research. We have our mainframe website. And one of the things that I've learned, so the last time I was on, Dan and Donnie, was I was a couple of weeks into the job.
That's right.
PPMA.
You were brand new.
Yeah, I was brand
We
spanking new.
bombarded you.
And it was great. But one of the things I've learned over this past year is that a lot of folks don't really understand the difference between NPMA and PPMA, right? And this is something that I think is important because PPMA has its own set of bylaws, it has its own board of directors, has its own budget, and is funded completely through voluntary donations above and beyond NPMA dues.
Mm-hmm.
But we speak on behalf of NPMA, and sometimes that gets confusing.
Right.
Quick
Right.
question though, and it may be too complicated for a short answer, but why a separate entity? Why not just an arm of NPMA to do
Well,
this?
it goes back 26 years to the founding of PPMA when we had, what NPMA is doing is working on government affairs, it's working on business resources, it's working on technical resources, and it's kind of got that lane. But 26 years ago, a group of NPMA members decided that there was, a bunch of negative media, and consumers were not feeling positively about the pest control industry. And so we wanted to kind of take control of that narrative and write our own story with regard to the good work that pest control does. So rather than raise dues for everybody in NPMA, it was founded with this smaller group of PPMA guardians who said, we will front that money and start that work to redefine what pest control is and try to grow the industry for everybody involved. And so it happened that way. We also have the NPMA has its certification arm, Quality Pro. It has its charitable foundation, the Pest Management Foundation. So it's not unprecedented to have these, but that's the reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think today we're going to spend a lot of time on this, that you guys just released your annual report. So tell us about some of the wins for the industry in 2023, which there are several in my mind, and I'm sure in yours. So tell us about what you're working on.
There's so many exciting things going on, and you're right. We just released our 2023 annual report, and we, overall, so the biggest picture of all is in terms of consumer impressions last year in 2023, we clocked in at 1.85 billion consumer impressions in 2023. Now, I know you can say like, okay, well, an impression is just, how do you really count that? But when you think about PPMA, we're like at the top of the funnel. We're just trying to get a consumer to consider pest control.
Yeah, you guys are all about awareness.
Awareness, right? So it's not like conversions or something like that. It's really about just awareness. And if we and so 1.85 billion total impressions, which is just absolutely insane.
That's all SEO. You're not paying for any of that, are you?
A little bit, right? So we do digital advertising, social media. We also do content syndication, but we are not paying for Google AdWords or anything like that. We never want to compete with what our members are doing. So if we were like competing for termite, we're competing with our own members and we're driving the prices up, right? So we never want to do that. So all of our web is SEO.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the with regard to the annual report, we had some really big projects that were a big success last year. You might have heard about our Will They Eat It large scale campaign. Will They Eat It? If you're not familiar, it's Dr. Mike Bentley, right, who I think has been a guest on the show.
Yeah.
he has just an awesome personality and there's a little bit of tongue in cheek. And the idea is it's like a game show. Will they eat it? And what we do is take ordinary household items like headphones or a backpack or a photo album or a sack of fast food, put it into a tank, introduce 500,000 termites, and then ask, will they eat it? And then we do time lapse, come back a couple of weeks later, and then we do the big reveal to the audience. So it's a ton of fun. This is the second season. It was really well. It went over really well the first time, and so we had that project. We had another big project this last year called Do Not Disturb, and this one was we took a drone, we took a remote control vehicle, armored vehicle, with a GoPro strap to it, and we like poked at a hornet's nest, or we poked at a red imported fire ant's nest, and we just wanted to see what would happen. We got some of this really cool close-up footage.
So you guys are going around and just like pissing off bugs, and this is like
these were highly trained professionals, right? Highly trained professionals. We even have a disclaimer on our videos, do not try this at home.
That's right.
But it's twofold. What we're trying to do with any of these large scale projects is to create our own story, create interest. So the story around will they eat it was not, yes, termites will eat cheeseburgers, which they will, believe it or not. They didn't eat the fries, but they ate the whole burger. And the message there is, termites cost $6.8 billion in damage. So this is eye-catching, but the real concern is your home, right? With Do Not Disturb, it's not so much that the hornets got really angry. The message is, this is not a do-it-yourself project. Don't be a hero. Call a hero, call a pro. And that's our messaging.
So two things as you were talking about there, Jim. The first thing is that if I'm like, let's just say I don't want to say you're run of the mill, but I'm an owner, right? I'm a pest control company owner, and I'm looking at PPMA. I'm not very familiar with PPMA. The reason I should be supporting PPMA is because ultimately, like, I'm thinking about what's the win for me as the business owner, and ultimately, like, when I got in the industry, the vision was like, when you thought of the pest control guys, big cigar, overweight, greasy, you know what I mean? Like, just not someone you want in your house. And of course, I think that has changed. And I think the reason that it has changed and just tangible data, and maybe it's correlation. I want to be careful here. I'm not claiming causation, but when you guys do those consumer studies consistently year after year that you guys have done those, or each one that you've released, it seems like the market share of people who accept pest control services has continued to rise. And I think that one of the reasons is because they're starting to see it as something that's part of my home maintenance, not something that I should be responding or reacting to. Yeah. That's the first observation. Second observation is there any room in that tank for Dan? Because I think Would You Eat It would be fantastic if we could just get him in.
I think Dan's been around this industry long enough that when termites see him, they run the other way.
Yes.
Cheeseburgers, backpacks,
dollar bills in there, which are made of paper, and the termites probably eat the money.
But getting back to the real thought here is like, if I am an owner and I'm looking at like, what's the value proposition here? Like, why should I invest in this? Like, what is this going to do for my business today? Can you talk a little bit kind of from that perspective? Yeah. Like, okay, why would I invest in this? Which, by the way, I have done this from early on, because you haven't even gotten to this yet. We're talking about the annual report, but you guys have such a rich library of resources that you can use to market and grow your business. I paid the fee, got the access early on because I needed help on that front, and it's been a huge help for my business along the years. But can you just talk through big picture, like why would I do this?
Well, let me do it this way. I think there's both the tangible benefits, the ways that PPMA can help you, on the ground, grow your marketing campaigns, and then there's also big picture. So if we start small first, Mainframe is our consumer marketing hub, and our PPMA investors get access to Mainframe. Mainframe is just a database of high quality images, high quality video, sample press releases, sample social media, all of our research. So when we do a project like Will They Eat It, we're not only, coming up with like the big messaging, we're also in there taking HD photos of Formosan termites or Eastern Subterranean termites and taking that video and making that available to our investors to use as part of your marketing campaign. So if an investor wants to use it on a website or a brochure or a social media post, that's all available. So there's that kind of tangible resource. But the big picture, and really the big reason I think people should invest, is if you can imagine the universe of consumers who are considering pest control, and think of it as a pie, right? And every pest control company is competing for their slice of the pie. You want your pie to get bigger. You want your competitors to get a little bit smaller. What PPMA is trying to do is make the whole pie bigger.
Right.
So if we can make the pie bigger, everybody's slice gets bigger. And by what I mean by making the pie bigger is increasing the number of consumers who would even consider pest control. And that's the messaging we're trying to get out there.
Right. Right. That's fantastic. So let's get back to this annual report. And so you talked about, will they eat it? Maybe 2024 projects is putting Dan in a big thing and having him hang out with a bunch of termites.
So just to be clear, though, but these images, because I know that we've had issues where, seriously, we've had issues where clients have created websites and then have gotten letters from lawyers saying you stole this picture. So if you're a member, a card-carrying member of PPMA, those images are available for you to use on your website and whatnot?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they're available to use. So because this is it's an alliance of pest control companies that are working together. As an investor, you own it, right? And that's the beauty, because you can go and get a picture somewhere and you think maybe it was right, and then 2 years later somebody comes back and sends you a letter, and that can be really expensive. We've seen
very expensive. I've seen it.
This is all owned within PPMA.
Okay.
So the two large-scale projects, the idea behind that is that you create something interesting for someone that they would want to watch it, right? So like, will they eat it or going in and pissing off a bunch of bugs, and then the messaging on the flip side of that is the benefit to the industry, right? Which is if they do this to cheeseburgers or backpacks or whatever, they're going to do it to your home, or this is what's going to happen if you screw with hornets or fire ants, and here's why you want to use companies in our industry, right? That's kind of the hook.
And we're always trying to direct people back to pestworld.org, and pestworld.org is where people are going to be able to find out more information. So they get there, they start doing some research, they find all these great resources there, but we don't have resources on how to do it yourself. We do have resources on how to find a pest control company.
Right.
And then on pestworld.org, you put in your zip code and some companies, some members pop up.
Yeah. So on pestworld.org, we have a zip code locator, right? So a consumer goes there, punches in their zip code, and they will see every NPMA member company come up that services their zip code. At the top of that list, they will see PPMA investors with a link to a website. So it's an NPMA resource, all members, but our investors get a little special treatment at the top of the list, which is great. But that's not the only way that consumers find pest control companies through the work of PPMA, right? Because after all, you have your own marketing going on, your own advertising go on in local markets, and so they get to pestworld.org, and the decision there might just be, I got to call somebody, and then they Google it. Or they remember, I saw this truck driving down the road, let me call that company, right? And so it isn't always through the zip code locator that's there, but sometimes it happens in other ways.
Okay.
So, okay. So now let's talk a little bit about, so you guys are obviously doing the large scale projects. What about other ways that, obviously the mission is that you guys are creating awareness. What are other ways that you're creating awareness kind of on the digital and social side?
Yeah, so all of that. So when we do these large scale projects, we repurpose all this stuff. So we might make a microsite, will they eat it microsite on the web, a do not disturb web microsite. But then we'll also take this stuff, repurpose it for social media, and we'll also repurpose it for consumer media. So last year, our consumer media that's a huge part of what we do, and that's kind of the foundation of what we do, actually. Outreach, taking this news that we create, and even if someone doesn't want to, even if the Today Show doesn't want to talk about will they eat it, they might very well want to talk about termites because it caught somebody's attention, and then they find out like, oh, this is a real threat to homes. And so, last year in terms of our consumer media outreach, CNBC, Today Show, Good Morning America, NPR, USA Today, that resulted in 600 million impressions just from organic media outreach, which is huge for us, right? So we had more than
It's amazing.
we had more than 700 placements, organic placements in consumer. So we're not paying for that. We're just building that story, reaching out to these types of organizations. We're also talking to local newspapers. So there's that part, and then there's the social media part. Of course, we're on all the platforms. TikTok has been one that's really been growing for us. We have 135,000 followers on TikTok.
So who are these people when you do the analytics, right? So you get these millions and millions of impressions and then your click through and everything. Are they all consumers looking for pest control? Or are they, college kids who are entomologists doing research? Who are all these people?
It's a mix. It's a mix. I will tell you that all of my family follows, right? Because I make them.
Right.
But that doesn't account for 135,000 followers.
Dad's
right?
making us go on social media.
Right,
again.
right.
Right.
I gotta repost it again. No, it's but so it's a mix, right? It's folks that just find us because with TikTok, with TikTok in particular, this is really just awareness campaign. This is just sometimes it's an interesting video of a we had one had over 2 million views, like a viral video of a bed bug molting. And we put like an interesting trending sound along with it. And before we know it, all these folks have seen it. And so it's a 30-second video or 20-second video of a bed bug molting. And at the end, it says pestworld.org. So it's just about like getting the brand out there. What we see is it's a little bit more targeted when you get into, Facebook, and you get into even like Pinterest, right? So Pinterest, what the market there are teachers, parents, and so a lot of our Pest World for Kids content does really well there. But all of that is designed to just build awareness about the industry and about the resources we have.
Jim, remind me, it seems like I remember back in the day, and I think you guys may still have this up on mainframe, but there was also some resources, like if you're an owner and something happens, right? Like, I mean, this happened a lot early on when I first started, is some story would break or we would be the shiny toy in the toy box because it's spring and now termites are going to whatever. And then you'd have a news station call you and say, hey, we want to do an interview. You know what I mean? And there would be, I remember there being like a document up there to talk about how to say things, what to say, like basically some tips to kind of walk you through how to do the interview. Is there still something like that up to kind of help you if you got, like, or even an accident, right? Something that you got to make sure that you got to really watch what you say. Is there anything, resources like that on PPMA or up on mainframe?
On mainframe. So at ppmamainframe.org,
Yeah.
there are those resources. So there's both, right? So if you're getting ready for a local media interview, your company or the reporter reaches out about termites or cockroaches or bed bugs or whatever it happens to be. There's kind of how-to guides on mainframe that are available, and we're also available too. So we coach folks through that sort of thing. When it's a bad story, there's also
Right.
resources there, and
Right.
so we do offer some crisis media counseling that can be done to kind of help get folks through those situations, because unfortunately, I mean, it's a people business, right? And sometimes people do things that you don't expect them to do.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some of those bad things? And should you read up on it, like spills and things like that, so that, it's kind of your insurance policy? What are some of the bad things that you have in the toolbox?
Yeah. Well, all the things in the toolbox are good things. But we got nothing bad. No, but yeah, so but a lot of, it's not so much it's specific things that may or may not happen. It's really about how you talk about these things.
Correct.
How
Yes.
you message and how you can work with the media to tell a positive story, or maybe in some cases it did not work with the media, right? It's better to to know how to avoid those uncomfortable or negative situations, and make sure that your company is positioned in the best possible way at the end of the journey. So, but there are those resources there, and then we're available too. So I'm always just an email or a phone call away, and we can make sure that any of our investors is have the resources to be successful.
Okay, I have to cut in here. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you've gotten this far, and you're not a contributor, that is worth it alone there. I mean, not that we've, luckily, and I'm trying to find some wood here to knock on, I've not had to like exercise the option of like, oh my gosh, we've got this situation we need to deal with the media. But we've had several times when we've been asked to do interviews for something, and then I have used the resources on there. And so if you're listening and you're not a member, I mean, just that mainframe tool alone is, I think, well worth it. But let's talk a little bit about now. Okay, I am interested in PPMA. I believe in the mission. I want to contribute to the industry. I want to be a part of that. Talk to me a little bit about, how do I do this? Like, how do I contribute? Is there a level? Like, can you just walk through? Like, this is how I become an investor in PPMA.
Yeah, so PPMA investors run the gamut. They are pest control companies. They're companies from the supplier community, so manufacturers, distributors. We even have some investors in PPMA that are out of the business, that maybe have sold their company and then continue to give to PPMA because they know that it was such a great thing for their business when they were in the industry. But with regard to pest control companies, because I think that's really where we're at here, there are a couple different levels to contribute at. There is our guardian level. Guardian investors give 0.1% of their annual revenue to PPMA, and they basically make that pledge so that as their company grows, their investment grows. And so if it's a $2 million company, 0.1% is $2,000 a year.
So in Donnie's case, his dues would be maybe 50, 100 million. Something like that.
It'd be getting up there. It'd be getting up there. It'd be getting up there.
Yeah.
Now, not every company is in a position to make a guardian investment, right? We do have so the next level is contributor. So contributors, it's a catch-all, right? And so we have contributors that send us a check for $500 a year. Keep doing the work you're doing. The minimum level to gain access to mainframe is $1,200 a year, which works out to about $100 a month, which we think is well worth it in terms of just the
subscription,
just the tangible resources you get.
Yep.
But it's really about fueling this machine that is driving industry growth, and that's really what we like to think about. So when we can get people to think about that guardian, and as your company grows, it's just built right into the budget. 0.1% goes towards this consumer awareness part of your marketing budget. And we think that that's the way to do it. So
do you have an accounting system where you can bill somebody monthly $100 or whatever?
Absolutely.
To get to that
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We can set up, just hit a credit card every month, just auto billing kind of deal. Yeah, we will make it as easy as we can for folks to get invested. And when folks want to get invested, it's as simple as reaching out to me. My PPMA@pestworld.org. Easy email. You can also visit the NPMA pestworld.org website and click on PPMA, or you can visit ppmamainframe.org and find out how to do that there as well.
Good. Dan, would you like to tell us what month this is? Obviously, we're recording this actually on April Fool's Day, so I'm not going to ask you like what month is it, but what's so special about the month of April?
Well, when I was in the pest control business in New Jersey, the termite swarms happened on April the 15th in conjunction with the tax filings. And I believe that that's scientifically proved works, because you get your refund and then you can pay for the termite job. is that
That is convenient how we work that out with the termites, isn't it?
Yes, yes. It's yes, Dan, that is true, but it's also National Pest Management Month. That's what I was digging there for you. I was digging, and I just swinging a miss. So, okay.
And it's sitting right on my outline for me to say. Which
well, it is the first day back from Easter week vacation, spring break, so you get a pass. But having said all of that, Jim, can you just talk us through what you guys are doing at PPMA for this month? Obviously, it's a big month. I think it's a huge opportunity, obviously, for the industry. And Dan is correct. It is typically when termites are swarming. I know in the past we've used the month of April. You just talk a little bit about what you guys are doing, what you got planned at PPMA for this month.
Well, as the winter, weather goes away and the spring starts to move in, we know, just like Dan said, that some of these pests are waking up, and so people are starting to become more and more aware of the pests around their house. They're getting out in the yard, they're seeing this or they're seeing that, and they're looking for help. And so it's timed along with that. And so National Pest Management Month is really an opportunity for us to celebrate the great work that the pest control industry does, right? So pest control is not something that is a luxury. Pest control is an essential service, right? We've made this case time and time again, and the work that pest control service providers, pest control companies, every person from whoever's answering the phone, who's digging the trench to do a termite job, or who's selling a job or running a branch operation, we're doing a really important service. So we are protecting food, public health, and property, or the food we eat, the people we love, and the places we live, right? That's what the industry is doing. And so this is an opportunity, like I said from the beginning, to tell our story. And so that's what National Pest Management Month is about, telling the world, right, that the work of the pest control industry is really, really important. It's not a need. It's not like, something you need to get because you wound up with cockroaches in your kitchen. It's like a must-have that you should have to prevent pests from the very start. And so, we're making that case to the media. We're shouting it on our social media platforms, because we want people to know that this is such an awesome industry, and it's something that I just truly believe in for sure.
So that's the overall, just all pests. So are there specific awareness weeks that PPMA celebrates? What other types of things throughout the year?
Yeah, so we do. We have awareness weeks that we focus on. So we'll dedicate all of our social media. We'll dedicate our pitching efforts to consumer media, to different pests throughout the year. So in March we had Termite Awareness Week. All right. And so that coincides with the swarm a little bit further south, and kind of get people ready for that, for the termite season, so to speak. We have our Tick Awareness Week, which is in May 5th to the 11th. We also celebrate Bed Bug Awareness Week, June 2nd to the 8th. And that kind of coincides with people are getting out of school, planning vacations, planning their getaways, and so being aware about the stories surrounding travel. And then, of course, Rodent Awareness Week, which is in October 20th to the 26th. And that coincides with, as the weather starts to cool and rodent pressure begins to build, and people are starting to see some of those rodent pests inside their homes. So yeah, we try to focus on these different things throughout the year, and really drive the point home about what's hot at any particular time.
That's good. That's good. Now we got to start getting close to wrapping up here, but can you just talk us through kind of what you have on deck for the remainder of the year? I mean, obviously, it sounds like 2023 was fantastic, and for folks that are listening, we talk about awareness. Some of the stats that you shared are just staggering. I mean, it's amazing the work that you guys are doing. What's the plan for this year? Like, are you guys going to kind of continue the strategy? You plan on going bigger? Like, what do you guys got planned for 2024?
We got some fun stuff planned. We got some tried and true things too. So we do public service announcements, and we've done public service announcements for the past 20 years. And for folks that don't know what public service announcement is, it's essentially like a commercial, but the station runs it for free as a public service. So it can't be an ad. It can't be it can't be salesy, anything like that. It has to be informational. And
Mm-hmm.
so in 2023, we celebrated going back to live action, and our PSA in 2023 aired 98,000 times with an ad value of almost $32 million. We also experimented with connected TV. So if you're watching Roku and you're watching it or Amazon, the Amazon Prime Video, and a commercial comes on now, we have it running there. We had almost 700,000 views there, and it's pretty neat. We can actually track specifically what the view rate is, and our view rate is almost a 98% completed views, and the industry average is closer to 89%. So people are compelled by the message.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna continue our PSA program this year. That's been a kind of a cornerstone. We're really excited about it. We're gonna celebrate the lessons that we learn through generations about the little things that can help to keep the pests away. So we'll continue to talk about the threats associated with mosquitoes and cockroaches and rodents and that sort of thing, and termites. So we have that. We also are going to leverage Dr. Mike Bentley, who we know is a great personality. We're going to send him out to do what we're calling right now is Mike on the Street, which would be fun, asking consumers, and that'll be a social media campaign, ask consumers about some things that they happen to know or not know about pest control.
Mm-hmm.
For our large scale project, we're going to be doing a project called What Grows There. And this is an interesting one because what we're going to really leverage is the public health concerns associated with pests. So a couple years back, we did a program called Out of Sight, where we took mice and rats and cockroaches and dipped their feet in fluorescent dust and let them walk around the kitchen, and turned out the lights and turned on a black light.
Yeah.
You can see like they crawl across, everywhere they walk. But now we're going to take mice and houseflies and cockroaches and swab them, and then grow that on a petri dish. And so kind of show what we can find associated with the pathogens associated. So it's really driving home that public health message, which we think is really important.
Right. I'd love
Who's
to see
got the
TikTok
funnest
reel
job
on
in the world?
I know. I
want
want to see
think
the
it's
TikTok
me.
reel on that one.
It is. I'll tell you what, and the work that I am a true believer in the industry. I've been in the industry for 25 years. I've spent 12 of those years working for a pest control company. I've now been with NPMA, PPMA for 14 years, and I can't think of a better job. I can't think of a better industry. I just I want to do everything I can to help companies succeed and do this good work.
Well, I think you guys are doing amazing things at PPMA, and always a pleasure to have you here on the podcast to talk about it. I think it's something that our listeners need to be aware of. They need to know about it. They need to know about the resources, as well as support it, because I do think that it's great to see money spent actually turning into tangible things that's actually helping the business. Sometimes you contribute to things and you like, I don't know really where that's going, if it's really helping. And I can tell you, firsthand, I think the work that you guys are doing are having a major impact on the industry, and I think you are growing the pie. Now that assertion that I made earlier that the industry is growing because of the PPMA, you can take that. I don't know if it's causation or correlation, but it is happening. And at the end of the day, it's like most things in marketing. If it's working, then keep doing what you're doing. So you don't stop. So
well, it's good PR. It's changed the image, over the years, as you said at the outset.
And I truly believe it has had an impact. I don't think we can take all the, PPMA can take all the credit. There's a lot of hardworking people out there getting the word out every single day. But when the PPMA message syncs up with the pest control company's message, I think it's, it's like there's a synergistic effect, right? It magnifies itself.
Yeah.
PCT Magazine, to celebrate our 25th anniversary 2 years ago, PPMA Magazine said that, said PPMA is a big reason for industry growth over the past 25 years. So I can at least cite that.
There you go. Yes.
And then it's not me guessing.
That was in an article, not an advertisement.
That's right. That's exactly right. So Jim, just real quick, if listeners are interested in contacting you or getting involved, can you just give us a quick blurb on how they would go about doing that? With just a quick way of like, this is how you can get involved, this is what you can do. And then after that, we'll finish out.
Yeah, sure. Well, the easiest way is to just send me an email, right? Reach out to me, jfredericks@pestworld.org. You can also use PPMA at pestworld.org. That also comes to me. You can find more about PPMA on the NPMA website. So the NPMA member website, npmapestworld.org. Just click on that PPMA button at the top of the screen. Or you could just go to ppmamainframe.org and you can find out more about mainframe and then getting connected to PPMA that way as well.
And are there it shows, that take a credit card and become a member right then and there?
Well, we're working on that. And it turns out that we are in the process of this year. Last year we revamped the pestworld.org website, just complete redesign. This year we're redesigning mainframe, and that is honestly one of the things we know we need to do better, and that's letting folks buy when they're ready to buy. So that we're redesigning that so that it talks to the NPMA database. We know who's a member, who's not, if you're a pest control company or if you're not. And so we want to make sure the resources are getting to the right people. So right now, emailing me is going to be your best way to get connected, and we'll do our best to get you connected right away.
Well, hopefully you're a busy guy after this podcast, because
exactly
a bunch of
sure. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Well, Jim, thanks again for joining us here on the podcast. And just a reminder to all of our listeners that all the resources and topics that we talked about today are going to be available on the podcast website, pmpindustryinsider.com. Just take a look under show notes for this show. We'll link up Jim's contact info. We'll also link up PPMA, the mainframe, and NPMA's website, just so you can have.
And also the annual report we'll put up.
Yeah, we'll put that up as well.
Yep.
And if we can find a picture of Dan eating random stuff, maybe we can get one of those up as well. But as always, if you enjoyed the show, or we would appreciate it if you rate or review the show. If you have any complaints or concerns, we always ask that you direct those at Dan. And with that, we're going to sign off. Jim, thanks again. Dan, I'll see you next.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, fellas.
Bye.